Before we get started, if you haven't seen the first episode yet, you should definitely do so before watching any more of this review, unless you don't mind having a pretty great moment that happens at the end of the first episode spoiled for you. Talking about any episode after the first one is kind of a spoiler in itself, so go watch it. It's a little bit of a hassle to get through the first 20 minutes, but it should definitely be worth it. The story revolves around a cast of 4 high school students and their teacher who are trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, all with their incredibly fitted out school. I mean, solar panels, water collectors, generators and all, seems like a pretty sweet deal. Along the way we see a lot of moe, blood, meat bags, furious schoolgirl violence. I mean, what more could you ask for? School Live does a really great job at giving a really deceptive first impression. With the reveal in the first episode of Psycho Hype Train Yuki, it shows that the show really isn't your typical moe schoolgirl kawaii cute fest. Seriously, the show has a pretty interesting focus on the psychological side of the zombie apocalypse. With Miki originally being really confused as to why the rest of the girls kept up Yuki's fantasy, you learn that they suffer too, and that Yuki's cheerful view of things keeps them afloat. Although the first half of the show takes on a very slice-of-life feel, with there not being any real goal besides continuing to survive at the school, things eventually do take on a more plot-heavy tone towards the last few episodes. So overall, I thought the writing was amazing, especially with moments like the reveal in the first episode and the more emotional parts of the show. As for the characters, they're all fairly interesting and easy to get emotionally invested in. I mean, they're cute girls for God's sake. Look at them. Yuki's character is lazy and clumsy. She's shown as not being very book smart and has a weird love for school. She's also very caring but has a terrible fear of the apocalypse. Kurumi is the shovel master, the fighter of the group, but she has a heart, as shown in her pretty sad backstory. Ri-san is the club leader and is shown to be very responsible, smart, and all-around caring. She's more than meets the eye, though. The show doesn't give any backstory to her, unfortunately. Miki is the most recent member of the group. Having had the hardest time at the start of the apocalypse, she's weary and questions Yuki's state of mind. Not as much as in the manga, though, which I recommend too. She's my personal favorite. And finally, there's Megane. She's the teacher and the only adult. She's extremely caring and tries her best to be a leader along with Ri-san, despite knowing that it doesn't really fit her personality well. Her backstory is the most extensive though, and gives a pretty good point of view into the more interesting points in the show's plot. There's also Tarumaru, the dog, but there's not much to say, and I should leave you to see what he does. The show's animation and style isn't anything special. It's definitely visually pleasing, unless you really don't like the moe styles. It's colorful, but it isn't afraid to switch to a less saturated look during the more bleak situations. Despite it having a pretty basic animation, the animators sure seem to have used what they had to make the tones of scenes fit like they should. The only real issue was that there was a bit of 3D model use in the final episodes that felt out of place from the rest of the show, but otherwise, the animation was great. There isn't too much to say about the voice acting of the characters. Nothing's out of the ordinary, and it's pretty good. As for the rest of the audio, things can get pretty intense. The show has some pretty good uses of audio cues that will make your heart race in suspense, or stop as the feels hit you. The opening of the show is catchy and cheerful, which is exactly what you wouldn't expect from a zombie show. The song fits so badly that it makes it so perfect, fitting into the deceptive element of the show. Quick note, you should definitely watch out for the visual changes in each episode's opening. They're kinda subtle, but they're interesting. The ending song and clip are a lot more calm and collected, and it's pretty good all around. The ending for episode number 4, We Took Each Other's Hands by Kaori Sawada, was especially enjoyable, fitting the whole story of Miki and Kai. Overall, the show is great. It has its flaws, and maybe there's a plot hole or two that's a bit frustrating, but otherwise it's pretty solid. Using my own value system and the points made throughout the video, I'm giving the show a steady 8 out of 10, and the label of my favorite anime of the summer season in 2015. So of course, I totally recommend it, especially if you're watching this before Halloween. As of the time of this video, it isn't dubbed in English though. To stream it legally, you can head over to Crunchyroll or Hulu, although you can only watch the first 11 episodes on Hulu for free, and I'm sure there's ads. If you like School Live, you might enjoy High School of the Dead. It's a little older and a lot more ecchi, but it's a pretty good zombie show and one of my favorites to watch on Halloween. So thanks for watching, and I hope this review helped you guys see a little bit more in 2020.